So can you tell us a little bit about the time when there was something wrong and that Daniel wasn't coming home?
Well, we'd been for a Christmas party down in Brisbane on the 7th of December 2003. The boys were supposed to be coming, but they had to pick passion fruits next door and it was raining, so that it was put off. So Bruce and I went down to the Christmas party. We came home about 3:45. I was getting the clothes off the line. Bradley had said that Daniel had gone to the shops to get some Christmas presents and to get a haircut. I was getting the clothes off the line. I just had a really weird feeling. So I just said to Bruce, I'm going to go down to the bus stop to see if Daniel had caught the earlier bus. And he wasn't on that earlier bus. So I came home and said there was a couple of Sunbus down the road being put on a tow truck. Maybe the bus will be late. So about 5 o'clock, Bruce went down to check the next bus. He wasn't on that bus, so really straight away we knew something was wrong, and I suppose Mother's Tuition, we knew something was wrong straight away as well. So we went searching for him as soon as we can.
Yeah. And so as the days rolled on, how did you cope not knowing every day what had happened to him?
It was just a matter of just waiting. Like, we'd have the police were at our door. We had police at our house, from 7 o'clock till 6, 7 o'clock every day. And we would do media. In fact, Kim Scubrius here was one of the first journalists from Channel 7 that we dealt with. Kim was there, very good. We had reenactment, I think it was on the Wednesday, a couple of days after Daniel went missing, we had our first press conference. That was really daunting. We didn't know what to do, what to say, how to act. We just sat in a police room with just cameras and microphones there. We had no idea, and about a week later the police did a reenactment at the underpass, and we really had to make a cry out to the public that we needed help to find Daniel. And I think it was probably from about that Sunday the police started to get a lot of leads coming in and things like that, just by looking at Bruce and my face, and knew that the situation was real and we were desperately searching for Daniel.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you had 2 other sons as well. What was your immediate reaction? Did you blame them for not looking after him? Did you blame yourself for going? Did you play that blame game?
Well, initially, you blame yourself for everything. We didn't know if Daniel was alive or dead. Over the years we blamed ourselves. I blamed Dean for not going to the shops with him. I blamed Bradley for this. I blamed Bruce for moving up to Queensland. You can blame yourself for not looking after him properly, but no matter how much you blame yourself, you didn't do anything wrong, because we weren't Cowan. We didn't do the wrong thing. It was Cowan that abducted Daniel and murdered him. It doesn't matter how much you blame yourself. All you're going to do is it's going to eat away like cancer. You're going to get sick. You can't do things, but you can't blame yourself no matter what happened. There wouldn't be one person in this room that hasn't had someone, maybe an illness, or your mother or father's died of cancer, or you might have had, it could be cot death, it could be a child's been hit by a car. There wouldn't be one person in this room that hasn't got something that has gone wrong with you, but you can't blame yourself for what's happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you said that, how did the community support you during this time?
The community, right from day one, wanted to help. I think it was a matter of Daniel was an innocent boy just going shopping, and to this day we don't really understand why the community wanted to help. But we had people from Siena, the school where the boys went to school, the mothers we were getting food delivered to us every couple of days. The community were out there searching, people were looking up in the streets. Over time, over the first year, Eagle Boys Pizzas had Daniel's photo on pizza boxes around the country. We had one printer printed 1.37 million flyers that went through to Coles. Every time we went to Coles, they put a little A5 flyer in someone's shopping bag. That wasn't just Queensland. We had people putting posters out. Everybody wanted to find Daniel and assist some way. It was very overwhelming. About end of December, only a couple of weeks after Daniel went missing, Bruce put a red ribbon at the underpass on a door, and it said, it was about unlocking the horror of this crime. We need to find Daniel. And the whole of Queensland started putting red ribbons on their letterbox. Everybody just wanted to help, and it still continues now. People still wear red, and we still have different things for Daniel.
So did you ever feel judged by people? Did people ever sort of, make a judgment towards you and how you should, because people always have opinions, don't they?
Yeah, probably a week or two after Daniel went missing, my parents were up. It was really hot and we were tired and we were sick of sitting at home, and Bruce said, let's go up to the Palmwoods pub and just sit down and have a beer. So we went and had a beer, and Bruce went and picked Dean up from work. He just started work a week before Daniel went missing, so we picked Dean up and brought him over as well. And the next day, one of the police officers looking after the family said to Bruce, we had a report that you were laughing at the pub. So for a long time we were too scared to go out and show any emotion. So you might have seen us on the media looking very serious all the time. It was because we were told we saw you laughing, so we didn't know what to do. If you cried, you were a grieving mother. If you laughed, you looked like you were guilty. So it just sort of was a balance.
Amazing, isn't it? How we think. And how did your other two sons deal with Daniel's disappearance?
For many years, they didn't really talk much about Daniel. I mean, he was always there, and like even today, they still don't talk about Daniel. But we know that birthdays, Christmas Day, Mother's Day, Father's Day, it's all difficult. And of course, Daniel was a twin, so every time Bradley had a birthday, it was very difficult. And it was probably, I don't know if it was the right or the wrong thing to do, but for many years, Bruce and I couldn't handle Bradley's birthday, so we would go interstate. And Bradley would have a birthday when he was like an older teenager. We just had to get away. The last few years, we've been able to have a birthday with him and do it that way, but it was so difficult. We were so busy with the media. So what we used to do is, when Bradley was at school and Dean was at work, we would do our media engagements. Then when we got home, you've got to try and be a normal family the best that you can, and cook dinner and wash their school uniform, do their clothing. You just have to do that sort of thing. So.
And you said you'd also started a business during this time, is that right?
Yes, we used to have Jim's Mowing. We're the franchisors for Jim's Mowing from 1994 up until 2003. We sold all the mowing section and our call centre 6 weeks before Daniel went missing. We started Jim's Trees, we bought the franchisor rights to sell Jim's Trees franchise for Queensland, so we'd owned that for 6 weeks. We'd decided to move away from an office that we had in Maroochydore and bring it back home so we could spend more time with the boys after school and things like that. And that didn't happen, but we had 3 or 4 franchisees that we had to look after. We still needed to sell franchises, so we still had to advertise for franchises and do interviews. Bruce was doing the training in Brisbane once a month for the Jim's group as well. So we still needed to have an income, and we had I think we owned a house at the time, so we were lucky there, but we had school fees, we had car, we had bills to pay, we had things to do. We couldn't just sit at home and say, oh, poor me, I couldn't be bothered getting up today, but we had to pay our bills and get on with life.
And so how did you adjust to going from a family of 5 to a family of 4?
When we lived in the house where Daniel lived in, nobody touched Daniel's towel rail. That was his towel. Nobody touched that section of the bathroom. We had Daniel's bedroom, we had all of Daniel's things in there, even like the kitchen chair. Nobody sat at the seat where Daniel used to sit. That was his chair. Nobody touched that chair. I know on Daniel and Bradley's 14th birthday, Daniel had been missing 12 days. We had a little bit of a celebration. We had media and things like that, and people took all the kitchen tables, all the chairs out into the front lawn. And that night I absolutely cracked it because I did not know which chair was Daniel's chair. So with the ones that were put back, it might not have been his chair that was put back. I mean, it's only a mind game, but that was Daniel's chair and no one was allowed to touch it. But no, Bruce always said that we needed to start new memories with the four of us. So one year we went on a holiday to Hamilton Island. That happened to be the place that the five of us had been to the Easter before. And it was the worst holiday that we could have had. Four of us were there. We're going on the golf buggy. We're staying in the same sort of hotel room. You walk around and you think, I did that with Daniel. I did that with Daniel. We did that. So Bruce and I have never ever been back to Hamilton Island.
You said that was the worst day of your life when his killer was actually caught. Tell us about that.
Yeah, 13th of August 2011. Now, every day you'd say, I hope today's the day they find Daniel, but and in your mind you knew that that day would never come. About 5 o'clock that day, the commissioner phoned and he said, I've got some news. Is Bruce there? Can you put your phone on speaker? And we just got a new iPhone that week, so we had no idea how to use things. I mean, we just, that's what we did. So Bob Atkinson said, we've made an arrest for Daniel's murder. And it was like, I said, who is it? And he said, Cowan. And it was like, I just gave the phone to Bruce, and it's like someone had just kicked you in the guts. It was just the worst. It's the worst day. It was like the worst night of my life. Bruce was a bit different. He organised media conferences and different things. I basically couldn't do a thing. I was just too bad. But the next day we had the media conference, and that's when the foundation sort of grew from basically nothing. It just grew overnight to what it is now. But yeah, 13th of August 2011 was the day that finally knew that Daniel wouldn't come home, and always had that little glimmer of hope that he would, but all that hope just went that day. Well, in May 2005 we actually launched the Daniel Morcombe Foundation. So we had three main aims. The first one was to educate children on child safety and abduction, and now it includes internet safety. The second was to help young victims of crime, particularly those who have been sexually or physically abused, or they'd had a family member murdered. And the third aim was the search for Daniel. The reason we chose victims of crime was when Daniel had first been abducted, Bruce and I had to go and do some interviews with the police, and we had our DNA tested and all different things in the police station. They put Bradley in. Bradley was 13, he was just innocent. They pumped him in a room at the Maroochydore police station, and all it was Bester brick grey walls with a camera glaring at him. Yeah, he was very upset. I mean, he'd done nothing wrong, and he was in that room looking like he was to blame. So when we started the foundation, I thought, how can we assist victims of crime? So the first boy that we actually helped was a boy called Julian, and he was king hit down the Gold Coast. Schoolies 2005. We gave his family $10,000, and that was to, the parents were separated at the time, so that assisted the parents to stay in Brisbane or the Gold Coast Hospital, whichever one he was, stayed in around close so he could visit him. He bought a computer and he bought a dog. Young Julian sent us a message a few years later, say thank you very much for what you've done. I was doing training to be a personal trainer, so that assisted that young boy. Now, over the years we've helped the Baited Clay children, the three girls. We've paid several $1,000s for their ballet, their schools, their uniforms. We've had a program, Kids in Need program with Homicide Victim Support Group. We've helped children with, it could be reading glasses, rugby, school fees, uniforms, dog, computers. We've now got 3 counsellors that we pay for through Act for Kids. We've pledged $600,000 over the next 3 years to pay for these counsellors. We get requests from Queensland Community Services to help children. We get requests from New South Wales. We help the children that have been counselled. There was one boy that we assisted only a few months ago. He lived out in a hinterland town. Parents really don't care about him. The counsellor put in a request that he wanted a scooter. It was only like less than $200. Bruce and I went and bought him a scooter, and he said it was the best day of his life.